one thing that I had that I enjoy about hearing stories about the Bitcoin standard is that I think there's a very large number of people who are the kind of people just like you. When they get curious about something, they go on Amazon and they look for a book and they sit down and they read a book. And I think this is a very low time preference kind of person. Generally, there are a lot of easier, faster, quicker ways of getting your fix. Like you could go on YouTube and find some guy with with a flashy YouTube video and strange facial expressions who will explain all Bitcoin for you in 3 minutes or in 7 minutes or something like that. And you could you could even do the much stupider thing, which is go on some of these horrible propaganda rags like The Economist or the Financial Times and listen to the semi-literate journalists who work there try and explain to you why Bitcoin is such a doomed scam and why you should continue to invest in the system, in the monetary system that pays their bills to propagandize for it. And this, I think, is the most common thing. Like in general, particularly in universities. I remember when I was at university, and until today, when I have the misfortune of interacting with university people, it's all basically canned lines that they got from reading The Economist and the Financial Times and the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, and it's always the same talking points, which you're very familiar with, which is basically people don't look into Bitcoin. They don't read anything that requires more than 20 minutes of work. They just they have this idea that, I'm a busy person. I have a lot of things going on in my life, and I'm a smart person and I'm an educated person. So I outsource my thinking to all of these geniuses at The Economist and the Financial Times who will prepare, a brief articles for me that will snarkily dismiss all of this new nonsense and make me educated and aware of why this thing doesn't work. So you get these exact same kind of canned lines from all of these people, which is they got which they get from the Financial Times or these magazines, and it's always the same talking points. Like, well, there's nothing to guarantee that there's no authority behind it, so clearly the value is going to crash to zero at some point, and the environmental cost is too high. It's too volatile. It's going to crash. It's too slow. It can't scale. Some new blockchain technology might be useful, but Bitcoin is not very useful, and it's it's a trap. And in a sense, it's just punishment. Like if you outsource your thinking to these kind of thought substitutes, these kind of shortcuts to intelligent analysis. It works most of the time, for many things it works. Like, yeah, it gives you enough knowledge to know what you need to know about certain things. And in particular, it works in things that are relevant for you. So, these people will develop a new, an somewhat of an understanding of the politics of Brazil or Indonesia or some random country because they read The Economist on it. They read 5 minutes of The Economist once a month on Brazilian politics. And so then they go around pontificating about Brazilian politics, which works, for the purpose that these things are, which is, you go to dinner parties and you express the opinion of The Economist to other people who read The Economist, and they all think, "Oh wow, this guy's intelligent." In a sense, The Economist is a lifestyle mag. It's it's not an educational mag. It's like GQ for ugly people, basically, where you just develop your you're told what to think. You're told the fashions. You're told about the correct viewpoint about what's going on in Indonesia or Egypt or Brazil, and you repeat it at a dinner party. And if you repeat the right thing that The Economist says, then you're educated and you're cool at the dinner party or at the office cooler, at the water cooler conversation. You're the educated guy at the office who reads The Economist, and you all nod at each other because you're all educated about it. And so it works in that regard as a kind of lifestyle mag. But then sometimes you get to something that's actually relevant to your life, and that's something like Bitcoin. And, I speak from experience. I know that a lot of my colleagues, when I was at university in Lebanon, had this kind of perspective. When I try and discuss Bitcoin with them, they are the kind of people who would read The Economist and the Financial Times, and they'd come back at me with these kind of responses and these kind of snarky dismissal, or, oh yeah, Bitcoin, you're still into that. That it's dying. It's crashed, and it's not recovering, and it's bad. And then look how that worked out. Their central bank is gone to zero. Basically, their national currency has gone to zero. Their bank account has gone to zero, and it's a really expensive thing to try and take these shortcuts when it comes to thinking. This kind of high time preference way of, yeah, I'm just going to go by these propaganda outlets and to go by what they tell me. Yeah, it works when something doesn't affect your life, but when it does affect your life, it can be a very, very, very expensive mistake. And there's a much smaller group of people that will not go to these magazines, will actually go and buy a book and will sit down and read a whole book about it. And I'm very happy that my book came out, because a lot of these people, so many of them are just not, usually would not have been into Bitcoin, would not have been into Austrian economics, would not have been into libertarianism, wouldn't have been into any of these kind of usual, I'd say, funnels that bring people into Bitcoin. But they're into reading. They're into forming sophisticated opinions after being exposed to ideas. And they're into, sitting down for 10, 15 hours and getting a whole book finished, rather than just skimming through a few magazines while reading articles about things that don't matter to them. And it makes me very happy that a lot of those people end up getting Bitcoin because of my book. So it's always a pleasure to hear this. Thank you.